Hey, this is Russell back again with today's episode of Civ 5. So at the last and near the second half of the last episode, there were like some weird like mistimings with the audio, and I think that's with the original footage, or maybe it was in the game when I recorded it, but it only goes on for like a short time longer. So right now what I'm doing is I'm recording it, of course, and then when I go into like the editing phase, afterwards, I'm going to mute the section of this video like here for the game sounds so that you don't hear it, and then unmute it when it's back on like time, if that makes sense. So if you were there like in the end of the next episode, like people would, for example, be attacking the city, but you would hear it like a good like 10 or 15 seconds before it actually happened, and all the audio for the game seemed to be just a bit off. So yeah, I'm going ahead and muting this part of the video for like the game sounds, and then it'll be unmuted later as soon as it becomes, back on time again. So yeah, that's what we're doing here. In the meantime, all you're going to hear right now is the post commentary probably, and people moving. See, you're going to watch the game basically. So we have a very good setup going for us. We have a very defensible position against the Greeks. They're forced to attack Nicaea only through two avenues on either side of the mountain, and even before they get to the mountain, they get a little bottlenecked by the fact that they're attacking like from Greece, which isn't very wide front to attack from. So we're in a bit of an advantageous position in that sense. They're being funneled. They have you know natural obstacles such as like rivers and mountains in their ways and forests. So we've fended off the vast majority of the Greek troops at this point, and we're moving more troops as quickly as we can to the front line. We've finished production of a lot of the troops now, and even though they got the city down to about half health, they've gotten to the point where they can no longer really push anymore, and that's good for us. And that hopefully means we can start pushing back at some point. I think I have a catapult queued in the city now, maybe. I don't remember completely. But yeah, that's the goal, to start pushing into Greece because they tried to push into us, and also because in general I probably would have attacked them anyways eventually. So yeah, it works for me. If I remember what happens, I won't spoil it. But yeah, going ahead, you can see I'm focusing a little less on the production of units now and a little more again on the production of buildings. In some cities, I'm building units like the catapult in Constantinople and stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't want my economy to be slowed down by the war, especially the development of some of our newer cities. So yeah, it's going along. We still have like a huge amount of money coming in, a huge amount of like happiness. War hasn't really affected us too badly at all. If anything, it's like not stunted our growth at all, but the Greeks' growth. The war has been bad for them. And that's the biggest thing. If you want to have wars without consequence in this game, if there's any way that you can like keep the war like away from your cities and keep your cities away from like producing units and more so focusing on buildings, the impacts for the war will only be like gain. You won't lose anything through a war. Maybe units, but even then you don't have to pay the unit maintenance and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's one of those things where the goal is to minimize your costs and maximize your gains. Pretty much, there's lack of a better way to put it, I guess. Um, so yeah, dudes are getting bombarded. That spearman unit is getting close to death, of course. Um, but advancing forward is good at this point. Even though I'm building a catapult with composite bowmen, I shouldn't really need a catapult to take the city of Sparta. I can do a lot of damage to Sparta through just composite bowmen, because they are like the next tier above like the regular archers and stuff like that. We're doing pretty good technologically in compared to our peers. We aren't like light years ahead, but we aren't behind at all, and we're ahead of a few of the people at least around us. Building a road there, not because it's going to give me extra money at this point, like the city is already connected to the trade route, but it's usually nice to just build roads in general, even if they cost more maintenance. But it is good to build roads like from Orhyd to Nicaea, for example, so that you'll be able to move troops more quickly between the two. Um, so it shouldn't be while you shouldn't build roads in every tile and pay tons and tons of maintenance for it, you also shouldn't neglect like strategic roads as well, especially if you're able to pay for it. Um, so right now we're looking at bombarding the city, seeing what damage we can do to it, seeing how we can hurt the units around it. Kind of just testing and seeing what we're up against, really. And at this point, I'm not 100% sure I'll be able to push into the city. So we'll see what happens here, though. Looking at stoneworks, I like happiness and I like the buildings, but eventually I just decide that it's better to build units. Library would really be nice in Constantinople. And here's what happens. You saw I accepted that peace deal pretty quickly. They offered me the city of Sparta. So I'm just like, you know what? Heck yes. Don't think I would have been able to take it anyways. I might have been able to, but it would have been at a cost. And yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and declare war on you again as soon as I'm able to. This does give them a bit of a truce timer, so they will have a little bit of time to rebuild, regroup, and all of that. This time, though, they can't catch me unawares because I have an army. Stupid decision on the part of the AI, but it's one of those things where you can't, I guess, what's the term for it? You can't program them not to be 100% stupid, because there are some cases in which giving up a city's, good and smart in order to get out of a war. While other cases, it won't be good or smart to do so. This being one of those cases, Sparta was pretty strategic location for them. So it gives me a very good foothold into the Greek peninsula and makes it so that things will happen. I realize what I'm giving them has much more value than what I'm getting from them, but at the same time, with a lack of people to sell the luxury resources and a huge excess, that it's a good thing to sell it. Even if it's just for a little, I can always retract the deal later when I get a better offer from someone else, or I can see if I can get a better offer from the Russians when they have more money, because they'll probably want to renew the deal because they'll be relying on the luxury resource by then. So yeah, you just see me going back to economy, more so fixing the damage that's been done before. I have quite a lot of luxury buildings I need to fix. Not that I'm wanting for happiness, but it's always good to have excess happiness. The more excess happiness you get, the more golden ages you get, which is why I've been in multiple, been quite, doing well with golden ages up to this point. It's given me a pretty big boost. Golden ages not only give gold, but like an extra boost in like production and stuff like that. So especially in the early game, golden ages are really good to get. In the late game, it feels like you're getting more from golden ages, like just because, um, you have way more money, so the golden age's benefits are going to be much more, right? But uh, in fact, I would argue golden ages are better in the early game than in the late game because it gets you to the late game quicker, and I think that's far more valuable than having golden ages in the late game. So if you ever like had a dude and you didn't want to spend him on like a great work or tech or a manufactory or academy or whatever, you really wanted to get the golden age from him, I wouldn't advise it. But if you really, really were set on giving yourself a golden age, give yourself a golden age earlier in the game rather than later in the game if you have the choice. Overall, great people aren't really the best for golden ages. It overall reduces your golden age time, and it's usually better to get free tech or an academy or best of all manufacturing if you can. Sometimes it'd be good to rush the production of very important wonders. It's situational, but it's very rare golden ages are very impactful on the game in that sense. You can get a better use of your great persons in golden ages. That's what I'm trying to say. So we got that road being built, and that's going to make it so that we have ease of access between those two cities. It only costs like a little bit more in gold maintenance too, so it's not a big deal. And overall, I'd prefer to have that road rather than to not have that road. we are using internal trade routes, if you haven't noticed already, in order to get our cities up and running much faster. And people are enhancing their religions, getting everything done. We've already gotten everything done with our religion, fortunately. And we got an automatic faith purchase just now. I believe it's on pagodas, although it might still be on missionaries. I don't remember. I guess we'll see next turn, because it'll prompt me to use the missionary if we purchased a missionary. But maybe it was a pagoda. Let's see. Yeah, it must have been a pagoda. So pagodas are amazing buildings. They give like culture, happiness, and faith, which are things that you can't. Wait, did I say culture, happiness, and faith? Yeah, which are things that you can get maxed out on. Happiness in particular. How do I put it? So happiness buildings are. There's only a few happiness buildings in the game, and to have one more happiness building to be put in like every single city is huge, because that's like an extra like a couple of population in every city, or a couple of those buildings is an extra city. So yeah, very very good choice to get that. It's also usually good to get like the make temples give you happiness thing as well. Although I went a bit more of a monetary route with this religion this time around, so and because I'm not too worried about happiness. So long as you have like, if you're stacked with like luxuries like I am right now in the early game, if you can make it to the late game, once you get to ideologies, you should never really struggle for happiness at that point. If you start struggling for happiness, going commerce is a good solution as well in the policy trees, because you get like +2 for every luxury resource in one of the parts of that tree. So that's a good way to get your happiness up as well. There's other ways to get your happiness up, and especially when you're going for a bit of a build like I am, and you have a big early boost to the amount of like luxury resources you have in your area and everything like that. You don't really need to worry too much about getting a religion with happiness. Although, yeah, religion, happiness, those things are like really good. Got stuff being built all over the place. We've got combat mostly with barbarians at this point going on. There are some wars between peoples, like, the Mongols and the Russians, which is interesting. And actually I want to get back to that later, because that's very interesting, but we don't have a view right now of what's going on in the world. It's still terra incognito. So, but we will want to revisit that. That is pretty important thing to visit. Right now we have things being queued up. I'm considering getting the Oracle, because Varna doesn't really have many things it can work on that would have such a huge impact. And at the same time, it's only going to take 30 turns. So I'm not holding my breath that I can get the Oracle, but I think we have a decent chance of getting the Oracle. It might be a cool thing to do. And yeah, so fighting some barbarians, the usual. And yeah, pretty fun stuff. So we got to start preparing for the war against the Greeks at this point. We're getting at a point where the truce timer is going to be coming up soon. Working on building the economy to do that, as well as we haven't stopped unqueuing troops completely, I think. Oh, actually we did for a little while at least, because we wanted to focus on the wonders and the trade. But queuing units again will come soon. We don't want to wait too long on the Greeks, because we want to get them while they're weak, and the earlier we capture the cities, the earlier we can start growing the cities the way we like them. Late game conquest bears a lot less yield than early game conquest in this game, because being able to manage the cities throughout the game is going to get you way more pop. While if you conquer a city in the late game, you're going to lose half the pop, and then it's going to take you a while to rebuild it. So I'm not saying late game conquest shouldn't happen, though. Especially if you have money to purchase buildings, late game conquest can be very, very good. Because then you can really build up the city again really fast. But early game conquest pans out with a much higher yield over time. So we're working on theology. I figured because we have like big faith bonuses being Constantinople, the Byzantines, and it's my first time doing them. I want to take advantage of it, so going a bit of the faith route would be nice. I haven't gone. I don't remember if I go piety. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I don't remember going piety, and it's a tree that I rarely go down. It would have been cool going piety, so I wonder if I did. Um, and yeah, so we've cleared out all the barbarians in the territory, and things are looking a bit better for us. Uh, Queuing up the writer guilds and stuff like that. What I tend to do with the culture buildings is I tend to queue them up and build them, but then I make it so that the city is locked out on specialists, so that there won't be any specialists working in the building. You still get the problem with those buildings usually comes down to if you aren't managing your citizens, the city's always going to prioritize working the culture buildings rather than getting things like food and stuff for the city. Not if the city's starving, but if like just in a regular game, it will focus on that it will focus on cultural specialists rather than that, because cultural specialists are very important. They make you get your great works faster and all of that, your great artists and great writers. But in the early game, you don't really want to rush those down too much at the cost of things that are much more important, like food. So tourism, it's good to get it started by building the buildings, but then once the buildings are built, there's no point in really putting the specialists in them unless you're really going down hard on the cultural victory. You really see it as a viable option for you. It's usually good to get tourism and all of that, even if you're not going for the cultural victory, because of the end game with ideologies. If you are a very unattractively tourist civ, I guess you can say it as, if you're not, attractive to the rest of the world, if you're not like, if your culture isn't very influential, that's the words I'm looking for, then, you're going to get like happiness debuffs and all of that. But, well, you can debuff others by having the highest tourism. So, it's usually worth investing into, and it's not very hard to get a higher tourism than most, if not all, of the AIs. It's just hard to pull off a cultural victory. Very hard to pull off a cultural victory unless you directly focus on it. So, yeah, that's just something I'll throw out there. If you want a culture victory in this game, you want to beeline for those texts that give you writing, artists, and musicians. You want to beeline for those texts that will let you build those great works. You want to get certain wonders that will let you hold great works, and you want to build a fairly large number of cities so that you will be able to build all of those great work buildings and house every single great work you make. So yeah, it's fairly like something you have to focus down and be very intentional about. You gotta play tall in a few cities, but then you also have to like play very wide as well. So yeah, it's a very big thing that you need to focus down. So you see, as soon as I build the artistry build, I go in, and same with the Writers Guild, I turn off the automatic specialists because it was auto assigning specialists immediately, even though those cities weren't even 10 pop, which isn't really healthy for a city. You want the city to focus on growth early on, for the reasons I stated in the other video, I think it was, where, the higher the pop, the higher everything else is. So we discovered the Germans. They're chilling out on our borders right now. We've met a decent number of the players. We still haven't met a decent number of the players. It's a very big map, mind you. So there's a lot to look for. This time, they have a lot of money. So I'm able to request 6. Usually you can get 7 gold from them if like they aren't upset at you. And usually that comes down to like you not being at war, being seen as like a warmonger. Those things like give you the best deals if you haven't expanded like way too much. Like sometimes the AI will get pissy if you like expand a lot. There's like a modifier where they're thinking like you're expanding too quickly and so on and so forth. Usually those modifiers aren't worth paying any heed to, because if you have a large enough army, they won't want to attack you. But at the same time, you get better trade deals if you don't have those modifiers, and people don't look down on you. So yeah, good things to consider. Overall, you want to prioritize though things like that over all of that. So I'm considering, thinking about it. Do I want to go to war with the Greeks again? How much do I have? How much do they have? At least right now I'm going to annex the city and purchase the courthouse. I do think, and I'm looking at purchasing other things as well. Of course, every time you ever annex a city, they always go on gold focus while they're on a puppet, so you always have to turn them back to default focus. I don't know why the game focuses on gold focus, but it does. It's interesting. Maybe that's the way it's like of it like making the city grow slow over and feel less valuable. I don't know. Like gold focus is one of those things where it's like I don't know why anyone would use it. Like it's usually better to like just go through manually and select like a few gold tiles and then let the rest of your dudes like focus on, food and stuff. If you want like more gold, you just select a few dudes and make them work the tiles of like gold in just a few areas and stuff. So I'm getting ready to go back to war with the Greeks, moving my dudes to more optimal locations. What you want to do when you're going to be the one declaring war is you want to set up your dudes in like a spot where they're going to be able to just rush in. So yeah, moving my dudes to borders as much as possible, and the next turn you'll see I'll be able to like instantly land like a couple units in like good spots for the battle. And yeah, so we're back at war. Same episode, and this is what I like about speeding it up to 1.25 times speed. It all being on the same episode means that you're going to be able to see everything happen. Everything's going to feel more connected. You aren't going to forget like events that happened like in a last episode, because maybe you would have forgotten by now how soon it was we were just at war with them. We were barely at peace with them. So really, them giving up that city was a bit of a mistake, because it gave us a really good position from which we can push into the rest of the Greek peninsula. I'm able to beat down those dudes, move up the catapults. I just need to move it up like one more time, and got the archers landed. Excuse me, I don't think I covered my nose or muted my mic fast enough. There. So yeah, they're bombarding the archers in the forest, which is like almost best case scenario. Because if they can't take out my melee unit, then I'm able to easily take the city. So yeah, very, very good position to be in. So I'm going to fortify that guy to heal, make those guys bombard. The Droman can actually come and start bombarding the city as well. I really like the Droman as a unique unit. I had a decent experience with it in this first time I ever played Byzantium. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. We have our catapult, which we're going to move forward 1 or 2 spaces, I don't remember. Just 1 space, because we can then move those guys forward 2 spaces, I think. Or actually, unfortunately, you can't move those guys like that. There we go. That's what I'm doing. It's been a while. So, yeah. I'll move those guys back out of range, because they can't bombard any of my people from Corinth if I do that. There's no point in leaving my archer there to just get shot at. And, yeah. Getting attacked. That one archer has survived, though, which is good for us. And yeah, so we're able to stop bombarding, and I'm holding back from using that last archer just because I'm not sure if I'll be able to take the city this turn. So I hold off on that. And I auto-heal him because I realize we're not going to be able to take the city, and fortify him again in hopes that maybe, you know, we'll be able to use him. We'll go ahead and fortify that guy to heal as well. Even though he won't heal that turn, you actually have to be fortified for a full turn to heal, and since I already used one movement to sack the farm, I won't be able to heal that turn. So we got that dude moving there. He's going to fortify to heal, but he won't heal this turn because he just did a move as well. So probably should have kept him in the same spot, but it's fine. Chichen Itza is a very good wonder to get. Again, I'm not going for those wonders too seriously. If I was, I would be building them in the capital. But, you know, I figure I may as well queue them up. It doesn't hurt. And if, you know, I can't build those wonders, it turns into some gold that I can use for something else. It's not like I'm going to have the city do something way more useful. But yeah, we're getting a little closer to the end of the episode, but we've got a little longer before the episode ends. I think a few more minutes. So let's see Athens get taken. I believe it's going to get taken this turn. There's no reason why it shouldn't be able to take it this turn from what I can see. Pew. Fire, laser beam, boat, Droman. And we got our other unique unit out, actually. So, first time making the cataphracts, and I'm going to use them to clear the peninsula, Anatolia of barbarians. It seems like the best use for them, and use them as explorers as well in general, because I haven't, you know, done that yet. I want to attack anyways. Have them go pew, and then they take the city. Go ahead and annex it, because we're going to be able to, we have the happiness to handle an annexation, and also, you know, we'll be able to just purchase the courthouse outright pretty soon in just a couple turns. So we've taken Athens. I don't have much left to take. You know, there's still the rest of the peninsula. There's still a couple cities there, I believe. Argos and Corinth. Very good cities to have, you know. They're not very impressive cities right now, of course, because, I mean, the Greeks haven't done the best of jobs building up the cities and stuff like that. But we can make the Greece into something awesome if we take those cities. And we have the happiness to handle all the cities, too. Like, you see, our happiness was down just for a little bit because of the whole taking of Athens thing, but it's going back up slowly. And we're also about to get some of the policies that are going to increase our happiness. If you see, I'm ready to adopt a policy. And there's some policies that are going to be coming along pretty soon in both liberty and tradition that increase happiness. It's one of the reasons why I always go with both liberty and tradition rather than just going one or the other. Because again, happiness is very important. You know, lets you have more pop and everything. So if you have both bonuses for happiness, then you're going to have a very happy empire. Rather than just one. No, it seems like the most powerful way to go. Actually, it looks like we are still another policy away from getting the happiness one. So I have to get the happiness one next time around. We already have the liberty happiness one, which is good for us. So yeah, people are moving forward. I'm not even keeping up with the pace of this game. That's how far behind I am with things like policies and stuff like that. But it's still good to be going at this speed. Anyways, we're getting close to the end of the video. So yeah, like, comment, favorite, subscribe if you guys want to see more. We're going to choose a place to trade with along our own place, and we're probably going to end this turn here shortly. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one, and that was cool with the cataphracts and stuff. God bless. Bye.
Like, favorite, and subscribe if you guys want to see more. Always interested in your feedback down in the comment section. You guys have a good one. God bless.